So what we are going to look at today is the designation of a grinding wheel. That is basically what it suggests is a grinding wheel would be given a name, and the name would be showing something. It would be specific with respect to specific application or purpose. So how to give the name to a grinding wheel, or in other words, how to identify what a particular name or what a particular designation of a grinding wheel correspond to in terms of what kind of workpiece we have, what kind of particles that are used, and likewise. So basically that is what we are going to see, the designation of a grinding wheel. That is what is the hidden information behind how the grinding wheel is denoted, or how a particular name or a specification of a grinding wheel denotes. So starting with this topic, which is it is very important, that is IMP for competitive examinations, that is in terms of MCQs, and also for university examination. So this topic is very important in those regards. So let us start with it. The name or the designation is divided into you can say 5 different blocks. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 blocks. So you give the name in the form of 5 blocks. Now what are these blocks and what do they correspond to? That is what we'll be coming on to. That is what we are going to study in today's session. So before going on to what each blocks represent, we'll see what is or how this each block is denoted. So this first block is denoted in the form of an alphabet. The second block is a number. The third block is again an alphabet, then again a number, and the last one is again an alphabet. So this is how you denote a particular grinding wheel. So now again in each of these blocks, each of these alphabets corresponding to a particular block or a number corresponding to a particular block is having some physical meaning. So that is what we are going to see. So let us start with the first block. This alphabet can be either A or B or C or D. So what ABCD denotes? It denotes the type of abrasive. Type of abrasive means if the first alphabet is A, the type of abrasive that is used in manufacturing of the grinding wheel is Al2O3, that is aluminum oxide. If it is B, if the first alphabet is B, that is nothing but boron carbide. If it is C, it is silicon carbide, and if it is D, it is a diamond. So these are the abrasive particles which may be used in construction or manufacturing of the grinding wheel. So it's easy to remember. If it is Al2O3, it is denoted by A. If it is B4, it is denoted by B. SiC is the only odd one out. So if the abrasive particle is a diamond, it is denoted by D. So whatever is remaining is the letter C, which gives us SI. So this is how you can remember. Why am I stressing more on remembering? Because you need to remember what each of these letters correspond to, or correspond to what kind of abrasive. Fine. Now I'll go into a bit of detail a bit later. Let us first introduce what are these numbers and all these things. So the second one, that is second block, which corresponds to a number, it gives us an idea about something called as the grain size or grit size. Now what is this also we'll see in detail when we come across each of these specifics, but then again it is having a specific range. If it is between 10 to 24, then you call it as a coarse grain. if it is between 30 to 60, you call it as a medium grain. If it is between 80 to 180, you call it as a fine grain. And if it is between 220 to 600, you call it as a very fine grain. So this is what the next number suggests, or next block suggests, which is denoted by any number which falls in this range. Now coming to the next one, that is the third block, which is corresponding to an alphabet. Now this third alphabet is denoting something called as a grade. Now what is a grade also we'll see when we are discussing each of these in detail, but then it can have a range between A to H, or I to P, or Q to Z. So like the grade of the grinding wheel can be denoted by either A, B, C, D, anything. If any letter that falls between A and H, it suggests that the grinding wheel that you are using is a soft grade grinding wheel. If it is falling between the range I to P, it suggests it is a medium grade grinding wheel. And if it is falling in the range, if any alphabet is falling between Q to Z, including Q and Z, then it suggests the grade of the grinding wheel is hard. We'll see what do you mean by grade and all those stuff. Then moving on to the next block, which corresponds to a number. And when we are talking about a number, again this fourth block suggests something called as a structure, or structure number, as we can call it. We'll come to that. So this structure is nothing but it gives an idea about what is how the grains are arranged. We'll see that in detail. If this number, as it is corresponding to a number, if a number that falls between 0 to 7, it gives you an idea about what kind of structure is it. So if it is falling between 0 to 7, it is a dense structure of the grinding wheel. And if it is falling from between 8 to 16, including 8 and 16, all these numbers are included in the range, then it is giving us something called as an open structure. All right. So now moving on to the last alphabet, that is the last block, which is nothing but an alphabet. So this the last block gives you something called as the type of bond. So like if the last alphabet is V, it is a vitrified. If the last alphabet is B, it is a bakelite. If it is S, it is silicate. If it is E, it is shellac. And if it is R, it is a rubber. So this each letter that in the last block corresponds to the type of bond or the bonding material that you are using. Fine. I'm just giving an overview about how or what are the different alphabets and numbers corresponding to. All right. So this is what is and this is how you give the designation to the grinding wheel. Now what we'll do is we'll see in a detail, in very much depth, of each of these parts or each of these blocks. So starting with the first block, I'm keeping this page here for the reference. So starting with the first block, this is block number this is first block, this is second block, this is third block, this is fourth block, and this is the fifth block. Fine. So starting with the first block, that is the alphabet. So for the first block, for your reference, I'm keeping it here. All right. So for the first block, as we can see, we have Al2O3. And the first block is the type of abrasives. In this we have Al2O3, we have B4C, we have SiC, and we have diamond. Now the significance of all these and the significance of these abrasives that are used is what we are going to see here. So then starting with the first one, like Al2O3, what we can see is when in case of an Al2O3, we have aluminium, which is there in the combination. So when we are talking about aluminium, that is in case of Al2O3, we have aluminium, which implies that the abrasive particles are soft. I am talking in purely in relative terms. Relative means relative to all the other remaining abrasive particles. So when you are talking about Al2O3, it is a soft kind of an abrasive particle. So when I say it is soft, it implies that the this particular abrasive would be soft, means it would be ductile, again in relative terms. And when a material is ductile, I can call it as it would be having very good toughness property. This is something that we might have already studied in the stress strain diagrams. All right, so when I'm talking about Al2O3, it is soft, so I can consider it as having good toughness. Now then, as it is relative, I'll come to the other um, type of abrasives as well. So when I'm talking about B4C, that is the boron carbide, it has been found that it gives poor performance when it is used in manufacturing of the grinding wheel. So, and again, when I'm saying it is giving pure performance, there is no theoretical proof for that. It based on the experiments, it has been found out that it is not giving appropriate performance during the process. So in that regards, we generally do not use B4C. So this is not generally used as an abrasive particle. Then we come to the next one, that is, I'll go to the uh, D first, that is the diamond. So as we all know, diamond is very costly. So as it is very costly, it is not feasible to use it as an abrasive particle or as a abrasive material for manufacturing of the grinding wheel. So what we are left with is the other option. So we do not use this. So what we are left with is C, which is nothing but silicon carbide. So now when we are using silicon carbide, obviously now I am only left with two options to compare, that is the SiC and the Al2O3. Now as it is having a carbide within it, which gives me directly the relation that it is hard, and when it is hard, when a material is hard, it implies it is a brittle material. All right, so obviously its toughness would be low. Fine. So when I'm comparing Al2O3, as I told you earlier as well, I'm talking about all these abrasives in a relative term. So now as I've striken out the two other materials that can be used for abrasive particles, I'm only left with Al2O3 and SiC. So comparing the two, Al2O3 is comparatively soft material than the SiC. Alright, now once I know what is the property of the abrasive particles that are used, I can directly go for the application of it. So as Al2O3 is soft, I am putting it here, as Al2O3 is a soft material, it's obvious that it would be used for ductile or soft workpieces. SiC is a hard material, so it would be used for brittle or hard workpieces. Why? If I use Al2O3 for hard workpieces, it's obvious that it would not be able to perform its task in a appropriate manner or in a satisfactory manner. That is why Al2O3 can be used for ductile or soft workpieces, while SiC can be used for a hard or a brittle kind of the workpieces. All right, so that is what is the significance of the first block, which corresponds to the type of abrasives. One is required to remember what A stands for, what B stands for, what C and what D stands for, because when we take an example, you will get an idea why you are supposed to remember this. All right, so that is what the first block corresponds to. I'll put it here, the first block. Now we move to the second one. What does the second block suggest, or what is the second block giving us? Second block gives us the number. What does that number correspond to? It is corresponding to the grain size or the grid size, and you have some range here. We'll understand this range, or we'll take a look at these range once we are done with the understanding of what is the grain size or what is the grid size. So now here, as we had seen in the previous lecture, what I'll do is, we'll assume the particular, what we had seen was, we'll assume a particular shape of the abrasive particles. What we had seen earlier was either it was a cube or a rectangle, and as we had seen earlier, I was least interested in this dimension. So it may be A or B or C, anything, because I'm only interested in this particular dimension. All right, so let us here assume that this is a cube where the dimensions are A. Fine. Now there is a relation that one needs to remember. A can be written as 1 upon grain size number. I can also put it as GSN. So A, that is the dimension of your abrasive particle, can be given as a grain size number here, and this data or this value that I am writing here is in the form of, is in inches. Fine, this is, I'm writing it with a different colored pen because one needs to remember that it's always in inches. What if I take the ratio of grain size number, it is always in inches. So it's something that one must remember.